I have a question for you. When was the last time a real teammate, not a coach, general manager, or agent, stepped in front of a camera, looked a reporter in the eye, and said, "You're wrong about her"? And I'll explain why in detail. That's what took place. And if you missed it, you missed one of the most significant moments of this WNBA season. Not because it was ostentatious or went viral for the wrong reasons, but rather because it highlighted a profound truth about what is truly going on inside the Indiana Fever locker room. That's Lexi Hull, a professional athlete who endured what every competitor fears, irrelevance, during the first half of this season. Standing on the bench and waiting for minutes that would never come, she trusted a process that she was still unable to fully comprehend. After that, everything was different. That player is the same one. Different confidence, different energy, different everything. Caitlin Clark was the one variable that altered the equation. However, no one is connecting to this. This is the thread that connects everything. Sophie Cunningham went above and beyond simply defending Caitlin Clark. She took a reporter's criticism, broke it down piece by piece, and then transformed it into a masterclass on what Clark truly offers a basketball team. And this moment feels entirely different when you realize why she did it and what has actually been going on inside that locker room. This gets deeper than you may imagine, so stick with me. Prior to discussing Sophie Cunningham, the reporter, and the defense, it is important to comprehend the circumstances surrounding Caitlin Clark's arrival in Indiana, as it was not a smooth transition. Consider what the initial expectations were. In the WNBA's history, Clark was the most anticipated rookie. Not just since Maya Moore, not just since Brittany Griner. The most anticipated, without a doubt. Most athletes would be crushed by this kind of hoopla before they have played a significant minute. A coronation was what the media desired. The supporters desired a rescuer. Even before she played in a regular season game, the detractors were honing their blades. And after years of struggling, underperforming, and failing to produce a regular winner, the Indiana Fever gave her the reins and said, "Fix this." That's quite a bit. For any player, that is a huge amount of weight to bear. The issue with high expectations is as follows. The person carrying them is not the only one under pressure. They put pressure on everyone in their vicinity. The entire locker room is under scrutiny when your superstar is. Every poor game is magnified. Every pass that is missed is examined. Every defeat turns into a test of whether the excitement was genuine. Veterans like Lexi Hull, who had established roles, developed their games within a particular framework, and had routines and comfort zones, had to abruptly adjust everything. As the offense was no longer passing through the same reads. The same components were no longer the foundation of the team. Caitlin Clark was at the center of the reconstruction. It's uncomfortable. That is truly awkward from a professional standpoint. Change at that level is always disruptive before it becomes revolutionary, not because anyone was mistaken or Clark wasn't worth it, because it was challenging. This is where the narrative becomes intriguing, though. This is where Indiana's inner journey sets it apart from all other superstars that join a faltering team. Team story that we have already witnessed. The players didn't break. They didn't complain to reporters behind closed doors. They prevented the kind of silent dysfunction that wrecks locker rooms from the inside out by preventing resentment from growing. Together, they worked things out. And a big part of the reason they figured it out is because of what Caitlin Clark actually accomplishes on a basketball court. Until Sophie Cunningham made sure they did, the reporters, critics, and commentators with their heated takes never completely grasped this. It is important to discuss the story that was being promoted. It is really important. A portion of the media spent a lot of effort trying to portray Caitlin Clark's game as problematic, something that needed to be qualified, something that came with an asterisk. Exactly the kind of segment we've seen before with every generational talent who doesn't fit the mold. Too this, too that, too self-centered, too reliant on the three-pointer, too shoot first. According to these perspectives, the step-back pull-ups were questioned, the volume three-point shooting was condemned, and the court vision was somehow insufficient to overcome the other issues. Look, criticism is a necessary part of the work. When you're in the spotlight, you get criticism. No one is immune from analysis. No one is immune from examination. That's reasonable. When you sign up for the largest stage, that's the bargain. Fair critique, however, differs from a narrative that disregards the data. A predetermined conclusion searching for evidence is not the same as an honest study. Additionally, the actual evidence presented in court, as well as the evidence presented in real time, presented a completely different picture. Listen to that one again. Passes. Didn't believe were feasible. It's not a statistic. That figure isn't a box score. Caitlin Clark is doing things that she has literally never seen before, according to a professional basketball player who has been playing at a high level for years and who has previously played with brilliant teammates. The passes. Let's discuss the passes, as this is where the critics repeatedly admitted that they were either not paying attention or were not comprehending what they were seeing. The death of Clark is more than just true. Not only is it timely. If you've experienced it as a colleague, it's visionary in a way that nearly defies words. She perceives angles that do not yet exist. She trusts her teammate to be there and delivers the ball to a location where the defender isn't. That degree of confidence is reciprocated. She has faith in her teammates to make the correct decision. Over time, her teammates also come to believe that if they make the correct move, the ball will be there. It boosts the offensive as a whole by generating a feedback loop of confidence. It is not accidental that Lexi Hull is succeeding, receiving open shots, growing in confidence as an offensive player, and seeing her role develop. Playing with a passer who makes every cut worthwhile directly leads to back down from a challenge. You can tell that she brings a certain boldness to everything she does if you have followed her career and observed who she is as a person and as a competitor. She is the kind of teammate you want on your side when things go tough because she is loud and physically strong. And Cunningham made a decision when that reporter attacked Caitlin Clark. She had the option to sidestep. The diplomatic non-answer was an option for her. We just pay attention to what we can manage. The type of locker room cliché that doesn't say anything, doesn't upset anyone, and doesn't do anything at all. That wasn't what she did. She bent closer. She addressed the criticism head-on. And it wasn't just one player's defense that came next. It was a statement about the values, beliefs, and people this Indiana Fever team is centered around. Consider what it would take to do that. Consider the professional risk of publicly, strongly, and unequivocally defending your teammate in front of a member of the media. The record now includes you. You are now responsible for those remarks. And if Clark has a difficult period, those remarks will be directed back at you if the team reaches a dead end. Sophie Cunningham was aware of all of that, but she said it still because she thought it was true, because she had witnessed it, and because the proof from the practices, games, and locker room was indisputable. The locker room is saying that. That is not public relations. Talking like that is not media training. That athlete has direct knowledge of what it's like to play with Caitlin Clark. She also says it's enjoyable. She says it's simple. She makes my job easy, which is one of the best compliments a professional can give another in a field where prospects are limited and careers are brief. Hull is not the only one who experiences it. Cunningham's defense did not appear out of thin air. It came from a locker room that had witnessed Clark's daily arrival. Work hard every day, improve every practice, and increase the value of every colleague in her vicinity. You don't need to be asked twice to publicly defend it after witnessing it occur in real time. You take the initiative because colleagues support one another in this way. Sophie Cunningham did just that. In the analytical community, there is a basketball idea. They refer to it as one of the most undervalued and difficult to quantify aspects of what genuinely distinguishes an exceptional offensive player. In basketball, gravity refers to how much a defender must respect your potential to injure them, particularly from a distance. Even when you don't have the ball, are motionless in a corner, or are running off a screen with no genuine intention of shooting, the more gravity you possess, the more the defense must account for you. The defender is unable to assist you. You cannot be abandoned by the defense as they load up toward the paint. They must remain loyal, honest, and at home because if they don't, you'll burn them. Almost no WNBA athlete can equal Caitlin Clark's gravitational pull. Her range is just exceptional. She releases herself quickly. Defenders are unable to even give her a step because she can pull up off the dribble. People in stadia have practically stopped talking in the middle of her shoots because they couldn't believe what they had just witnessed. Sophie Cunningham is that person. Everyone is reminded that real basketball is being played by real people at that precise moment, which breaks through the cacophony. Additionally, Those closest to it are aware of details that the cameras don't always record. Let's bring it home, though. Let's discuss the implications of this for the Indiana Fever as a squad, an organization, and a competitor. Because we ought to be using that word right now. Not project, not reconstruction, but competitor. The league's most thrilling offensive player is a member of the Fever. They have teammates who are publicly devoted to one another, who are developing, and who are producing. They have a self-defending locker room that retaliates when the outside world makes mistakes. People underestimate the value of that kind of internal togetherness. Teams that defend one another during news conferences also defend one another throughout the fourth quarter. When the game is on the line, teams that openly support their stars are trusted. On-court performance and locker room culture are closely related. It appears in the outcomes. Since Caitlin Clark joined the team, Lexi Hull has improved as a player. That's not a viewpoint. That is an observable, verifiable reality. She's not the only one who has increased her self-assurance, role, and output. A team begins to think it can succeed when players around a star improve, role players find new meaning, and veterans who had been trapped rediscover what it's like to be a part of something winning. With Caitlin Clark at the controls and teammates like Sophie Cunningham ensuring that no one outside the building is permitted to jeopardize what they're developing inside, the Indiana Fever ceiling is growing in real time. Sophie Cunningham didn't need to speak. She may have ignored the reporter. She may have continued to move while grinning. She could have responded with a safe, innocuous non-answer that keeps everyone safe and doesn't alter anything. Rather, she made the decision to stand there and speak the truth as she understood it. The real story of a teammate who changed a locker room. Until you're the one catching the ball in a position you never knew you could be in, you can't truly understand the truth about a player who is passing. The reality of how everyone around Caitlin Clark is affected by her gravity, vision, and unwavering drive. The bottom line is that everyone else is improved by Clark's presence. Additionally, defending a player who is doing that isn't a public relations strategy if the person is making every teammate around them more valuable, dangerous, and self-assured. It's simply the reality. Sophie Cunningham was honest. Lexi Hull was honest. The naysayers are to blame if they continue to ignore what the locker room has to say. Because the proof is in the box scores, on the court, and in the voices of those who play with Caitlin Clark every single night. The Indiana Fever are not a project anymore. They are a true team, with teammates who stand up for one another and a star who improves everyone. A culture that is too powerful from the inside for anyone from the outside to destroy. The locker room is the gasoline, Clark is the engine, and Sophie Cunningham just warned everyone not to mess with this team. They are certain of what they possess, and they will not allow anyone to take it away from them. Sophie Cunningham is that person. That's the moment that breaks through the cacophony and serves as a reminder to everyone that real basketball is being played by real people, and those closest to it are aware of details that the cameras aren't always able to catch. Come on, let's take it home. Let's discuss the implications of this for the Indiana Fever as a squad, an organization, and a competitor. Because we ought to be using that word right now. Not project, not reconstruction, but competitor. The league's most thrilling offensive player is a member of the Fever. They have colleagues who are publicly devoted to one another, who are developing, and who are creating. They have a self-defending locker room that retaliates when the outside world makes mistakes. People underestimate the value of that kind of internal togetherness. Teams that openly support their star trust, that star when the game is on the line, and teams that fight for each other in press conferences battle for each other in the fourth quarter. On-court performance and locker room culture are closely related. It appears in the outcomes. Since Caitlin Clark joined the team, Lexi Hull has improved as a player. That's not a viewpoint. That is an observable, verifiable reality. Her output, her job, and her confidence all increased. She's not alone,